cluster feeding, stick with it. It doesn't mean you're not producing enough milk. It doesn't mean your baby's not getting what they need. It doesn't mean you're failing at breastfeeding, or all of the things that health visitors will tell you. Hello, this is my very first video on my YouTube channel, so I'm sure it's not going to be very good, but I don't want to say that. It's probably going to be amazing, but I'm just getting into this, so I just need you to be kind and be good with me. But I'm Beth. I'm a former acupuncturist. I'm a fertility and period specialist. I'm a mum of 2. I'm holistic. I have so many things. I do so many things, and people for ages have been asking me to do a YouTube channel where I share all of my advice about periods, breastfeeding, pregnancy, eating, low toxin, everything like that. And I've finally done it because God was like, Beth, you need to do this, so I'm doing it. So I don't know why, but it's just something that's come through me. Today I've decided to start off with talking about breastfeeding because I don't see it talked about enough. And I see a lot of women suffering and giving up when it's not their fault. It's the lack of support. They've not been given the right tools to succeed. So I'm going to talk about breastfeeding because I'm very passionate about breastfeeding. Breast milk is amazing. It's not only amazing for keeping your kids like alive and fed and all of those things, but it's amazing for so many other things. Like, it's great when they're poorly, it's great when they're teething because it's a natural painkiller. It's really good on any skin conditions like eczema, anything like that. You can pop it in the bath if you can't use it anymore, if it's been left out for too long. Chuck it in the bath. Like, there's so many amazing tools for breast milk. It's so amazing, so I'm going to talk about it today. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to create a successful breastfeeding journey, because nobody teaches about it, and it actually starts when you're still pregnant in order to create that successful journey. Number one, collecting colostrum can be really helpful. I've always struggled to collect colostrum with both my babies. It just wasn't something that happened for me. I barely got any. I got frustrated. I didn't really do it because it just didn't work for me. I know loads of women that had great experiences, but I didn't have a great experience, and I went on to have very successful breastfeeding journeys with both my boys. So not getting colostrum doesn't mean you're not going to be able to breastfeed, so don't worry about that. But doing colostrum is good. Again, colostrum is thicker than breast milk. It's like golden and it's thick and it's really sticky. And so that's what they drink for the first few days of their life. And that's why they don't feed as much, because their bellies are full quicker, because colostrum is really thick. And so then when it switches to breast milk and your milk comes in, which you feel, that's when they'll feed more, because breast milk is thinner than colostrum. So collecting colostrum is great. And then how your labor goes can really dictate how your breastfeeding journey goes. So, you know, if there's more drugs like, you know, epidural, gas in the air, the range of things that they can give you that can get in the way of your breastfeeding journey. And if you have drugs during labor and birth, it's more likely your baby's going to be more sleepy, less responsive, less wanting to feed for the first week of their life, because it's been in their system too. So don't worry if they don't seem that enthusiastic about feeding. It's normal. They're just tired. They're knocked out by everything that's happened as well. And then straight away once they're born, if you get them on your chest, skin to skin, for hours, but especially the golden hour once they've just been born, you don't need to weigh them straight away. You don't need to get them sorted straight away. If they're okay and you're okay, get them on your chest and just spend time with them. All the checks can happen later. It's fine. That's what I did. Get them straight on your chest and do as much skin to skin as possible, because the more skin to skin you do, the faster your milk comes in. That connection, everything comes through. You smelling them activates your breast milk. Like, it just, you guys are working together. Your immune system is their immune system, your nervous system is their nervous system. Your body is their body, especially for the first few months, and like, it's so important. So get them on skin to skin as much as possible. It will really help your breastfeeding journey. And then when your milk comes in, it can be a bit sore. Mine was always a bit sore, so I'd say Epsom salt baths for this, just like warm flannels, anything on your boobs to just cool them down, make them feel better. And then you get into cluster feeding. I make big babies, so they really cluster fed, and I felt like I was losing my mind. It's really hard. For the first 12 weeks, it was intense cluster feeding, back-to-back cluster feeding. Like, I could barely go anywhere, do anything. It was just cluster feeding. And I think what people don't tell you is that they'll feed every hour, and so you think like, okay, cool, like I'll feed them for 10 minutes and then I'll have 15 minutes and then I'll get them back on. Whereas like mine were just on my boobs constantly. I was just switching from boob to boob to boob for 12 weeks and I felt like a prisoner. I was sat down, I couldn't do anything. I enjoyed it more with my first, but with my second I also had a toddler, so I couldn't enjoy being sat as much as I wanted to. And so yeah, cluster feeding for 12 weeks, it is hardcore. You just have to get in your mind like, this isn't forever, this is a season, and I find that that is really, really helpful. And so yeah, cluster feeding, stick with it. It doesn't mean you're not producing enough milk. It doesn't mean your baby's not getting what they need. It doesn't mean you're failing at breastfeeding, or all of the things that health visitors will tell you. If it's not a lactation consultant that's telling you these things, you don't have to listen to them, or a midwives again. Depends what type of breastfeeding training they've had, right? So like if your baby's putting out wet nappies, pooing and gaining weight, your breast milk is doing what it needs to do. If they need to feed every hour, they need to feed every hour. They're a hungry baby. Also, like, is it hot outside? Because that means they need to feed more, because it hydrates them as well. Like, there's so many things that are going into it. Just because they need to feed loads doesn't mean you're broken. So just learn as much as you can. There's a great book called The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding. I tell every pregnant mum to read it. Or a podcast called The Midwife's Cauldron. They talk about a load of stuff as well. But just breastfeeding education, do as much as you can, so that if somebody tells you you're doing it wrong, you can come back and be like, no, I'm okay. Because especially if you're a first time mum and it's all really new, it's easy to take other people's opinion as fact because this is your first time doing it. So yeah, cluster feeding is hardcore, and I feel for you. Just 12 weeks, just get it in your brain. It's a season, 12 weeks. Line up a load of things you want to watch on TV, read a book, listen to podcasts, recover. It's like you're meant to be sitting down anyway. In China, the women don't get up for 40 days. Like, it's a restful period. So that's why breastfeeding is so naturally designed, because it's meant to keep you sat, it's meant to keep you still, keep you resting. You're meant to be sat, you're not meant to be up about doing loads of different things. It's not the point. Silver cups is something I can really recommend for this as well if you're getting sore nipples. I didn't really get this with my first, I kind of got it with my second, but yeah, silver nipple cups, put them on, keep them in just between feeds, get them back on, and they're just, it sounds insane and I know, but it works. Like, it stops that nipple pain so well. They were amazing. I kept mine even though after my first I was convinced I was never gonna have kids again, but I kept mine and I was so glad, because silver nipple cups, they're so good. They're so good for nipple pain. I didn't get any pain, any cracking, any bleeding, any nothing. Like, it was obviously all a bit sore because when your milk comes in and they're cluster feeding, it's a bit much, but like I was really lucky and I was okay. Nipple creams as well to help, like barrier creams and stuff, but you can just use coconut oil. I just use coconut oil. You don't have to buy, it's such a marketing scam, you don't have to buy specific creams for specific things. I use coconut oil for everything. I use it for his cradle cap, I use it to moisturize myself, I use it for makeup remover. Like, coconut oil, did I say coconut cream or oil? Coconut oil is amazing as a barrier, but also just natural. Like, Weleda do a really natural nipple cream that's amazing for breastfeeding as well, so you can also try that. But yeah, look after your nipples, look after your boobs. Like, keep like warm flannels, cool flannels, just to like cool everything down, warm everything up. Epsom salt baths as much as you can, just to soothe yourself. Like, drink loads of water, stay hydrated. You want loads of like bone broths, things like that. I'll do another episode on like postpartum nutrition, but if you're feeding yourself properly, you're gonna recover better and breastfeed better. And breast milk is made from blood, so the more you're feeding your blood after losing it during birth, the better. So red meat, bone broth, all of those things that feed your blood, placenta pills, I did placenta pills, you'll be then feeding your breastfeeding journey. And hydrating as well. If you're dehydrated, you're much more likely to have your milk supply reduce, and like you're on your period, your milk supply reduces as well. Pumping, I haven't pumped with my second actually because I have nowhere to be. With my first I pumped a lot. I used the Mum Cozy pump. I really loved it. It was one of the hand-free ones. I can't be arsed pumping now. That's the only thing I have against it. I can't be arsed pumping. I can't be arsed washing the pumps up. I can't be arsed bagging it, writing on it, all of those things. But it definitely has its place, and it was really useful for me with my first. So I'd never be against pumping. And if you want your other half to help with feeds, absolutely. I just can't be bothered. But yeah, pumping, bagging, and then remember the 6-6-6 rule. So the milk can be out on the side for 6 hours. it can be in the fridge for 6 days, and then it can be in the freezer for 6 months. It's a really good rule to use, which is why I write down the date and AM or PM when you're writing on the milk bags, because your milk has different things in it. So morning milk wakes them up, whereas evening milk gets them sleeping. So if you write AM or PM on it as well, it'll be really helpful. Then you can choose which one you're using for them. I used to use frozen breast milk to help with teething as well. If you rub it on their gums, it's really, really nice for them. So again, you can use it for so many different things. But yeah, remember the 666 rules. 6 days, 6 hours out, 6 days in the fridge, 6 months in the freezer. It's magical, it's amazing. 666. But yeah, pumping, just remember that you're replacing a feed. That's the difficulty with it, of like, the feed needs to be coming from somewhere else so that then you can pump to get rid of it, and it's a bit of a paradox. So I didn't really like doing it. I always used to pump with my first thing in the morning, so I'd have him on one boob and then I'd pump on the other side, if he'd had a good stretch of sleep at night, because obviously then you've got like a lot of milk, so then I didn't mind losing a bit then. But whatever works for you, whatever time of day. But if you're pumping a lot and feeding a lot, your milk supply is probably going to dip, because feeding activates your supply a lot more than pumping, because of like their saliva and all those types of things. So just watch out and be careful with it, and just don't worry about getting this massive freezer stash of breast milk like you see all the women do on social media. They've probably got an oversupply, which isn't a good thing because it hurts. I had an oversupply with my first, which was my own fault from over pumping. So, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. Bottles as well. So when you're bottle feeding, use glass bottles for baby rather than plastic, because if you're like me, you're holistic, you're low toxin, you're all of these things. It also extends to baby bottles. So all the baby bottles I have and had were glass. The teats are always plastic, you can't get past that. I just try and do it as best as I possibly can. So I use glass bottles, and some babies prefer some teats than others. So if one teat's not working, you can try a few different ones and see how that goes. Try leaving the room and letting your other half feed them so that they can't see you or smell you, because if they can smell you in the room, they're going to want boob over bottle. And make sure if they're feeding them from the bottle, they're not completely tipping it back and letting them get the milk really fast, because then they'll prefer bottle over boob because it's easier and they get the milk faster because they're greedy, because they're babies. So do like kind of like a diagonal feeding of like 45 degrees. But yeah, I can't be arsed this time round. I haven't done it this round, pumping or anything. I don't need my other half to help with feeds. I don't go anywhere or do anything, and I don't mind. I like being with my babies, so we're okay. He's just started weaning as well, and the way to make that so much easier is I puree stuff with breast milk in it, like foods, so that he's got a taste that he knows, so that the new tastes feel okay for him. So yeah, with weaning, and then with weaning off the boob, they do naturally do it anyway. Like if you're in it for the long haul, I always say to them, like, I'll give them a year of boobing and then I'm done. And so naturally the feeds reduce anyway. So by that time, my son was only feeding before bed, and I think first thing in the morning when he woke up. So I just replaced it with goat's milk, because goats are small springy animals, so they take it better. So he used to have goat's milk, or I do raw milk as well now for me and my kids. So either goats or raw, we do. But you always want full fat for kids, so try organic full fat. Like my whole thing is always good, better and best. So good is like organic full fat, better is goat's milk, best is raw milk. Like there's, just scale it. Don't make yourself feel guilty if you can't access one of them. Just try your best. But yeah, so I just switched to the bottles. My son didn't notice, or not didn't notice, didn't care. I switched him over to a bottle. One day I was just like, I'm done. My milk supply always dipped when I was on my period, because I used to have heavy periods and he used to get really frustrated. So I got to a point where I was like on my period, he was frustrated, and I was like, I'm done. So I switched him to the bottle for that, and he didn't even notice. He took to it like that. He didn't try go for the boob ever again. I didn't even have to have a conversation with him about it. He just switched and was fine. So I don't know if that's luck, because my second is only 6 months, so I will check back in and let you know how that goes. But he was absolutely fine. I know some kids can be hard, so you know, I always say, like, just try and have the conversation and try and enforce boundaries and get dad to enforce boundaries. Like that, boundaries are a dad thing. Structure, boundaries, dads, mums are nurturing care. Mums should also be upholding boundaries, but dads should be putting boundaries in place. It's just what we just find it works a lot easier. So if you have dad enforcing the boundary of like, okay, the boobs aren't available anymore, say they've gone to sleep, say they don't work anymore, whatever you need to tell them it, and just be like, say bye-bye and all of that kind of stuff. And just like feed however long you want to feed. I have friends that are fed until their kids are like 2 or 3. It's like the nutrients are really good for them. I just personally get to a year and I'm just done. I don't want to wear bras anymore. I don't want to sleep in a bra. I have naturally small boobs, which I really like, so I can go braless and wear backless things I can't do when I'm breastfeeding. So I like to just give them a year and then I'm done. But go on and however long that you want. The nutrients are amazing for them, especially when they're sick. Breast milk is so good for their immune system. So don't feel pressured to stop because other people think it's weird. It's weird that they've sexualized boobs. Boobs were created to feed our kids. That's what boobs are there for. If they've sexualized them, it's their problem. Also, breastfeeding in public. I get my boobs out. Oh gosh. I get my boobs out anywhere, anytime. I'm feeding my child. I don't care what anybody else has to say. I don't cover with a muslin or anything else. My boob is to feed my kid. I don't care what you have to say about it. And I've had a few comments over the years and I've just been like, I'm feeding my child. Like, he can either scream because he's hungry or I can feed him. It's up to you. So I would just always say, like, just be confident with it. You're feeding your child. It's beautiful. That's what boobs are for. If they've sexualized it, that's their problem. Honestly, I feed anywhere, everywhere. That's why I like boobing. My hats are off to formula mums, because you have to like prep like bottles and hot water and all of these things that like I could never be on top of it like that. And I have no idea how often my son feeds. This is another thing about breastfeeding I hate that like midwives and stuff do. They're like, how often do they feed? How much are they feeding? It's like, it's breast milk. How am I meant to know? And I also don't know how often he feeds. He feeds when he needs it. That's the purpose of it. Because sometimes it's for comfort. Sometimes it's because his teeth hurt. Sometimes it's because it's a hot day and he needs hydrating. Sometimes it's an actual meal. Like, I'm not going to stop him. It's like, and I don't do dummies because they're not great for your jaw or teeth development. I really hate dummies, so I don't do dummies with my kids. And so like, I'm the dummy, which is fine. Like, that's its purpose. I'm a mom. That's my body's purpose. Like, that's what we're here for. So it's fine. Just stop taking other people's opinions as facts, especially about breastfeeding. It helps so much. Decide what you want from it. Decide how long you want to go. Decide everything you want to do within it and stick to it and stick to your boundaries and say to other people, like, I thought that wasn't recording then, I nearly cried. I'm not interested in your opinion. Like, I'm grateful that you're trying to give me advice, but I've actually made my decision. So getting strong with boundaries is a mama thing. Mama, you need to get strong with the boundaries. You have to be able to say no to people. You have to be able to say, like, I'm not interested in your opinion or your parenting. Like, these are my kids. These are my decisions. And if I say to someone, I'd love to hear your advice about this. I'd love to hear your opinion of this. Great. Give me everything that you have. But if you're unsolicited, just giving me advice, I know a lot because of my career and having 2 kids and all of these things, but I would still never push my opinion or advice on a mum that doesn't want it. Being a mum can feel so overwhelming for so many different reasons. If a mum's just complaining to me about something and I know something that could help her, but she's not asking for advice, she's just wanting to vent, I'm just gonna let her vent. Like, her mumming probably looks different to mine. There's nothing wrong with that. So get really good at just ignoring other people. Even your other half. He doesn't have boobs. He's not breastfeeding. I've had to say to my other half a few times, like, no, that's not how this goes. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, no. And like, the dialogue should still be there because it's both of your kids, but it's your body and you know what you're doing with breastfeeding. So, and night feeds as well. I put boundaries in place with my son when he was around 8 or 9 months. So he'd been weaning for a while and then he was eating a decent amount in the day. And I'd noticed that night feeds had just become like a comfort thing to get him back to sleep. And he was waking, I'd say probably like 2 or 3, maybe 4 times in the night. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, no, like, you're waking up because you know you'll get boob and you'll want to use it to get back to sleep. So I'm not doing that anymore. So it was a rough 2 weeks, but I put the boundary in place of just like every time he woke up, I would just shush him, rock him, get him back to sleep any other way that wasn't boobing. And then eventually he got it and he slept through the night. Because there's that big thing of like, well, if they're not sleeping through the night and they're breastfeeding, it's because they wake up for a feed. I think so. I think they're trying to get lucky. That, like, imagine a midnight snack that tastes amazing. Like, I would do that. So I do believe that you have to put the boundary in place at some point of being like, okay, no, wait, we're not doing night feeds anymore. You're eating enough in the day. You're getting all of your nutrients in the day. And if they're having like a good feed before they go to bed, I don't think they need it. So that's what I did with my son anyway. I put boundary in place. I was like, we're done boobing at night, no more. And yeah, he started sleeping through the night and it was the best thing ever. But I co-sleep as well, and so when they're right next to you, sleeping next to you, they can smell your milk. So it does make it hard because they're obviously just going to be like, well, I want it because it's right there. So it's like, it's a lot to play around with, and like, this is all this video is. It's just to highlight things that nobody tells you about with your breastfeeding journey. I think it's very easy for people at the start, like, to think that you are failing if you're cluster feeding, or you're failing because there's not enough milk, or you're not able to pump and get a stash in the freezer like so many other women on the internet that you see doing it, and all of those things. But like, that's not failure. That's not failure at all. For me, success breastfeeding is that my child is happy, they're gaining weight, they're putting out wet nappies, they're pooing enough. That's it. If they're doing all of those things, I'm doing my job. That's all it is. So just don't let somebody else tell you that your breastfeeding journey is failing, because you're doing an amazing job. And once you realize, like, you get so far into it that you're like, this is so easy, it's so much easier. Like, he's crying, I just whip my boob out. Like, honestly, I love breastfeeding, and the nutrients are so amazing. You can never argue the fact that breast milk isn't full of such amazing nutrients that set them up for life. It sets their gut microbiome up for life. It sets their immune system up for life. Like, what you do in the first 5 years of your kid's life sets them up for the rest of their life. So if you can give them a year of breastfeeding and doing all the things that they need, you're setting them up for success, and they're only little ones. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in for this. This is much longer than I expected it to be. But if you have any breastfeeding questions, please just post them and I will answer them. If there's enough, I'll probably do another video about breastfeeding. Or if there's anything else you want me to talk about, I'm here to talk about periods, motherhood, hormones, nutrition, exercise. Like, this is my background. I do all of these things, and I've worked one-to-one for a really long time. And I've just got to the point where I want to reach and help more people and as many women as possible. And I've been the woman at 3 o'clock in the morning with my baby on YouTube asking for help. So I'm here to give it back to other people. So if there's anything you want me to do a video about, any questions, please comment. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching.